So good morning again. This is the September meeting of the Avon Garden Club, and I would like to introduce the speaker. Now, I'd like to thank the Department of Education, Dr. Lynette Dodson, who is the State Director of School Nutrition Program, and Mr. Richard Woods, who is the Superintendent of Schools, for allowing the presenter to come and work with us today. Kelly Toon is the Academic Nutrition and Support Manager, and her topic today is Farm to School. Now, Kelly and I were co-workers before I retired from the Department of Education, so I thought that I knew a little bit about Farm to School, but when I saw her presentation, I realized that there's going to be a lot that I would learn about Farm to School. So I'd like to turn the program over to you, Kelly, and you can unmute yourself. And
thank you, Frank. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay, and share some pictures and stuff as I'm talking. All right, is everyone able to see my screen at this time? Okay. So I'll go ahead and get started. As Frank said, my name is Kelly Toon, and I work with the Department of Education. And I'm so excited to be able to be with you guys today and share. I think we have a lot in common. And I want to be able to just share briefly some of the resources that we share with Georgia's students and think about ways that we could be connecting more. So I am the academic nutritionist, which is a super fun position at the State Department of Education. It's actually the first position in the U.S. with an academic nutrition position within the Department of Education. So we have other registered dietitians on staff that help with menu planning and promotion, but this position I get to work with not only school nutrition and school meals and feeding students, but I also get to work with teaching and learning and curriculum and instruction. So we're getting to like blend those two worlds together. So at the department, we really have a chance to focus on the whole child. And with the whole child, Frank mentioned our leadership with Dr. Dotson and Mr. Woods. And Mr. Woods' vision really was, as we think about supporting the whole child and we think about student success and academic performance, we really need to think about some of those basic skills and with nutrition and the wellness of a child being at the center of our focus. So we've really shifted a lot of our focus away from test and scoring and really focusing on the health and well-being of the whole child. So, you know, as a dietitian, though, I'm showing an image here, and a lot of times people will refer to it as a donut. So that does stress me out a little bit, but I'm going to try to move on and think about portion in moderation and get over the fact that they call it a donut. But I do like that they call it a donut because I like when anyone uses a food reference at any point in time. It's thrilling to me. So I'm going to let that one slide and just be excited about the fact that we refer and are thinking about the whole child as the center of our focus when we think about their success. So I do have a little poll question to get us started off here. And Frank, I don't know if you're going to be able to help me launch it. I'm definitely missing being in person with you guys today and all our new normals that we get to do. I know I have two virtual learners in my house right now. I have a second grader, and then I also have a pre-K. My son's in pre-K. So we're getting to navigate all this virtual world with them as well. One of the students yesterday in the class said 2 yesterdays ago, and I felt like I could totally relate to that. I felt like it was 2 yesterdays ago, at least, since I've been able to be in a room and chatting with a group of people. So. So I'm thinking, is that poll question going up? I'm not able to view that.
Yeah, it looks like 28 people have responded. So let's give it a little bit more time. Here we go. 29 people of the 38.
All right, awesome. Yeah, Frank, when these come up, if you want to help be my MC with me, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Keep those responses coming in.
Yeah, we're stuck at 29 of the 38. There we go, 32. We're getting
and
close.
And when we're thinking about this question, we're thinking about the last time you either saw or ate a school meal. So was it within the last year, the last 5 years, or like, it's been a while kind of thing. So. All right, what do we think, Frank?
Yeah,
How about
30.
most
Yeah,
people?
yeah.
What do they think?
Yeah, maybe we should just end it. We've had 33 respond, and so I'm going to end the polling and share the results.
Cool. All right. So it's been a while. It's been a while. So I think that's pretty common. When we're thinking about, unless you're in K-12 and you're an educator in the building, or you're with a grandchild, or if you're with your child and you get to go in and have a little meal with them, it's been a while since we've seen some of those school meals. And I know a lot of times we revert back to some of what those memories are when we last had a school meal, whether it was back when we were in school or when we had a chance to visit. So I think that what I want to really show a little bit about today and have some pictures and stuff that you'll see is that some of those school meals that we see are way different and look way different than the last time that we may have eaten them ourselves. So I'm excited to share what some of those things are and how farm to school is really incorporated as part of that plate and that school meal. So I think, are we still on the poll question, or am I able to advance my slide?
Yeah, you're still on the poll question.
Okay.
Can I assist you?
Yeah, I think so. If you wanted to help me take that down, if you
Okay.
can. I don't know if you can or not.
Oh,
wait, there we go. I got it.
There we go.
Yay, thank you. So kind of thinking about when we're thinking about that school meal, some of the things that are focused on at the Department of Education, and in particular with the school meals program, is thinking about quality meals and professional development and student and community engagement. And I think that farm to school and school gardens is really a great place for us to engage with the community. So I think that this is definitely a really exciting place that we're at with that and those type of conversations. So I do want to just briefly touch on kind of where we're at right now too in the education world, thinking about how in March our whole world changed with COVID-19 and being able to think about how to keep students learning and keep students fed. And these are the two hashtags that came out of the Department of Education. And I really bring those up because, of course, we want to keep our students learning. And when you think about the Department of Education, you, of course, think about that with students. But I think it's also really important to note that the two hashtags that went out right when all that happened, when you're thinking about social media, are also keeping students fed. So when we go back to thinking about that donut and the whole child, we really are trying to focus on the health of students and thinking about meeting those needs, including that most basic need of nutrition. So since March, schools have really shifted how they've been feeding kids. When we think about that cafeteria setting and school meals being a part of the school day, that really shifted when our students went home and were learning from home and had that virtual learning happening in the spring. So schools started to feed kids differently. Some meals were being delivered on buses. Some meals were being picked up by parents. So there were a lot of different models that happened. And I just want to point out that on Friday in March, the schools were serving in the cafeteria, and then over the weekend they switched to this totally new model of how to feed kids. So it's really impressive when you think about a restaurant, if they go from serving one way and then over a weekend they totally change how they're doing it. So since March, and between March and July, 30 million meals have been served to Georgia's students. So it's really just so impressive what school nutrition professionals have done to make sure that our kids, our Georgia students, our Georgia children have been able to have meals during this really difficult time. And when we think about, we had the opportunity to have some conversations and to learn what's happening in different communities. We saw kids, a child riding a tricycle that hooked his wagon onto the back to get meals for his siblings, and rode his bike back to the house, so that came to the bus site and went back. So these are kids that are really depend on these meals. So I'm just so appreciative to all the school nutrition professionals in Georgia that just really made that happen. It just shows how important food is for everyone, of course. All right, now I have another poll question. Frank, could you help
Yeah,
me
I'm
out
working
here?
on it. Let me see.
Thank you. So this one, I want to see what you guys are thinking a little bit when you think about farm to school. So we're talking this presentation, we're talking a little bit about farm to
Jody,
school.
I can't see the second question. I'm sorry.
And I could even just talk through it too if it's not coming up.
Well, this was the stop share result. Relaunch polling. I mean, last time it had like 3.
I'm going to talk through it. Does that sound good? Okay, so this one with this poll question we're trying to think of is like, what do you think of when you think about farm to school? So what are some of those words that pop up in your head? When you think of farm to school, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about gardens? Are you thinking about local food? Are you thinking about field trips to a farm? Are you thinking about a farmer visiting a school? Maybe taste tests? What are some of those things that you think about when you're thinking farm to school? And I think I see it up. The poll question is up. So what is that first thing that you think of when you think about farm to school? And you can check multiple choices. So is it gardens, curriculum, taste tests, locally grown foods as part of a school meal, field trips, farmer visits, culinary programs, cooking? What are you guys thinking about when I say farm to school?
Okay, everybody's getting into this polling thing. The 23 results, 25, 27. This is going fast. 27 of 37 have voted.
All right, what are some of those results, Frank? What do you see?
Okay, 32. So I'll end the polling. 33. Let me see. Yes, I can. Oh, share results. Okay, here we go.
Yay! Okay, so a lot of thinking in particular about locally grown foods on the menu, school gardens. Those are really our top answers, and those are some good ones, so thank you.
Okay, you want me to stop sharing the results?
Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be awesome.
Gotcha.
Okay, so farm to school, and when we think about farm to school, and our definition of farm to school is that farm to school is a movement that connects all aspects of the food system with all aspects of the school day. So we really feel like it's one of those things that's fully integrated into the school environment. And so when we think about farm to school, it could really be any of these things. And I think that what's really great about thinking about all these different areas of farm to school is that there's so many connection points, and you can really make it personalized for your community as far as what farm to school can mean for your community and the schools in your area. I do want to share that we recently received a Farm to School grant award, and we received $100,000. So we'll be implementing that within the next year to support farm to school efforts. And I think that this is one of those areas too that's important to bring up, because this is a grant area, and there's lots of other grants that we share on our website that have to do with school gardens, have to do with locally grown foods in school meals. So there's a lot of connection points. So if you're looking to connect with schools, helping with grants and writing grants or looking over grants or being involved in grants is a really great place to start. So connecting from a grant perspective is an area where schools are always looking for some additional support, some additional funding as well. So when we think about Farm to School too, we think about it being to connect and be a partner in education. So thinking about, we're going to talk about in a few minutes, our Harvest of the Month program, and apples is our September Harvest of the Month feature. So an apple could be a component as part of a school meal. So it could be part of a meal. It could also be part of an agriculture lesson. And then it could also be part of a math lesson. If we think about fractions, so if we cut an apple up, talking about fractions and meeting some of those different standards. So we have a lot of ways to be able to connect and engage when we think about and utilize food as a tool for engagement. So this is our Harvest of the Month calendar, and these are the items that we really focus on. And this is, we work with other agencies within Georgia. So the Harvest of the Month program we do in collaboration with the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Public Health. We work with other coalitions and organizations such as Georgia Organics. So this is really in Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So this is a partnership that we have to have a lot of consistent messaging and to focus on what could be grown and harvested and eaten in our communities during these months. So this again is that area where we're looking at ways to connect with these items. So we do have schools that are growing these in their garden, and then students are able to eat it in the cafeteria, and then we're using it as part of a lesson as well. So this is just an example of what those months are for us. And so we have packets available as well for our schools, and we worked again with our partners. So we have posters available. You can see Life is Sweet. We have lots of punny sayings that go with all these different items. Then we have some of those agricultural facts, and then we have lessons. So ways to connect with literature, ways to connect with math, and we share all those standards-based lessons with our educators across the state. Okay, another challenge. We got another poll question coming up. And this one, I think we're going to be digging in a little bit deeper when we talk about gardens. I want to get to know you guys a little bit better. I'm curious to see what experience that you guys have with school gardens. So have you ever visited a school garden? So this should be a pretty simple one. It's a yes or no.
Okay, 34 people have voted, so we're going to end it 35, 36. Okay.
Okay, and I'm seeing the results, and you 84% have visited a school garden. I love it, and I'm so excited. And I look forward to hearing about those experiences and sharing a little bit about some of my experience as well with school gardens. So what I kind of think is so cool about school gardens too is it's an opportunity to start where you're at and utilize some resources within your community and be able to grow, pun intended, with those as well. So we have some schools that have a single raised bed garden that they utilize, and it's a great resource to incorporate as part of their classes, whether it be science or math, thinking about literature and being able to also connect to social studies as well. So we have some schools that have one raised bed garden, and then we have some school systems. We have one school system in South Georgia in Effingham County that they have a 325-acre farm. That is their school garden. So when we think about the different learning opportunities for students, they're really great and varied, and they could really be tailored to what the community has available. I know in the community where I live in, probably in Metro Atlanta, a 325-acre farm is not going to fit into the property of my kid's school, but raised bed gardens are really great. So we can be so creative with that. So there's a lot of variety when we think about the school garden and learning experiences. So some great opportunities for our Georgia students, and with agriculture being the #1 industry in Georgia, what a great way to introduce our students to different career pathways that they could be thinking about for their future. So one of the resources that we provide, we have a wonderful Doctor of Food Safety on our staff, Dr. Ellen Steinberg, and she's really done a great job helping us being able to produce some documents to help schools walk through some of those questions. So can foods from a school garden be served in a school meal? And they can, but there's certain food safety regulations and considerations that we have to look at when we're thinking about utilizing some of those things that are grown in the garden as part of the school meal. One of them, of course, being thinking about that quantity. When we think about if we're serving, you saw that big 30 million meals kind of number, but when we're thinking about a school, we're serving thousands of kids. So how could we, thinking about producing enough to be able to incorporate as part of the school meal? So just some of those different types of questions that there could be conversations about when we think about a school garden and being able to serve that as part of a school meal. So lots of opportunities to work through some of those. So I wanted to kind of bring this up because I think that we think, of course, of school gardens and the opportunity to grow different things in those gardens, and it's such a wonderful hands-on learning opportunity when we have kids in the gardens. I also think that we have some great opportunities to think about some of those environmental things. So you'll see here baking music and the music wall in one of the gardens in DeKalb County. So this is a school garden, and what they did is working with the cafeteria team, they had some extra equipment that couldn't be used. Maybe it was rusting. And what they did is worked with the art program. Students painted the things, and then they made this music wall. And I could tell you that this kind of stuff is super fun for kids. I worked at a summer meals event last summer, and I did a simple activity. And it was kind of a nutrition and physical activity moment that we had. And I was just trying to use a cue, like how a gym teacher may use like a whistle to start something or music to start something. So my cue that I wanted to do so the kids knew that the activity was going to start is I got a metal measuring cup and I had a ruler, and I knocked the two of them together and it made a little like ding kind of noise. And I had kids that were lining up to make the ding noise. So they just wanted to take the ruler and take the measuring cup and make the noise together. So when I think about how engaged kids were and wanted to do that and to make that little noise and to playing those two together, something like this music wall could really have that same kind of impact for students. And this again is by the garden area. So just some ways that we could be creative and think about the environment and recycling and reusing some of those items. Again, here's some just examples of creative containers, these reusing, these tires and working with different art programs to just paint them and then using those as our containers for our school gardens. So I wanted to point out that we have on staff at the Department of Education, we have a wonderful farm to school specialist. Holly Thaw is a registered dietitian, and she's our farm to school specialist, and she is a farmer as well. So she has a farm here in Georgia, and then she gardens at her home as well. So she is very knowledgeable, and if you follow us, and we'll share some of our social media at the end of this presentation, but she does a bi-weekly Harvest with Holly message that's from 2 to 5 minutes that talks about those Harvest of the Month features. She has recipes, some of those garden connections as well. So I encourage you to follow along with us and join us in watching Harvest with Holly. We also have, I mentioned that culinary when we were thinking about some of that farm to school before as well. So we're growing some of those foods when we think about farm to school, and we're also preparing them. So in addition to school nutrition professionals preparing food, we also work with middle school and high school students and have a student chef competition and program that focuses on students developing recipes utilizing those Harvest of the Month items. So those locally grown items and coming up with recipes and being able to work on some of those skills in a professional kitchen, so that having those experiences and looking at that as a potential career pathway. I wanted to share this example as well. So this is Cobb County School. This is Wheeler High School in Cobb County, and they have a program called the Wheeler Fresh Collaborative. And what I really love about this program, it is a wonderful example of cross-curricular connections. And when I think about maybe some of the people on the call, and when I think about people in my own personal life, there's so many great professionals out there that are looking for ways to help out schools. And this program at Wheeler is so fun and unique and engaging. What they did is some of the different classes really collaborated to work on a project. So this school system, this school, as I mentioned, is close to actually my area, and they're pretty landlocked. So they have a lot of students, a couple thousand students at the school. They don't have a ton of space for a garden or a farm or anything like that. They do have a horticulture program as part of their high school curriculum. So they have that available. So what they did is they worked with their engineering students to figure out the best way to plan their garden so they could best utilize the space that they had available. So the engineering students helped to design that and to design some of the raised beds. The horticulture students then planted, and they worked in collaboration with the culinary arts students. So they together decided what they were going to plant, and then they harvested those items, some of them for the culinary program. And so what the culinary high school students did is they actually had a farm to table dinner. And some of the decorations that they had on the table were actually the herbs that the horticulture students grew. So they had those as the centerpiece on the table, and they sold those as well to raise some money. So on the herbs that they had the graphic design students came up with this Wheeler Fresh Collaborative logo, and they etched those on some of the pots that they put those herbs in. So next, so we have this farm to table dinner. Well, they also collaborated with the performing arts students. So they put on a production of Annie, and so this was actually a dinner movie event. So they had people in the community that were coming for the farm to table dinner. Then they got to go see Annie the show, and then any proceeds from this event went back into a program. Their Girls That Code Club worked to create a food pantry and identify students in the community that had additional or had some food insecurity, so needed some additional food. So they started a food pantry at their school. So any proceeds from this whole process went back into that program. So I bring that up because I think it's just a really cool way to think about making those connections, thinking about the things that our students excel at so much and that we as professionals have interest in, and being able to connect within our community and with schools. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that program because I think it's just a fun way to connect. Okay, I want to connect with you again. So let's get into our next poll question. And this one, I want to know a little bit more about what you're thinking about when we think about nutrition education. So when you're hearing nutrition education, what do you think of? Are you thinking about My Plate or the old pyramid? Thinking about vitamins, minerals? Maybe reading a nutrition label, cooking or preparing healthy foods. What do you think about when you think about nutrition education?
Kelly, the voting is coming in. 24, 25 people have voted. 30, it's up to 31.
All right. Let's see what we think. What are we thinking about nutrition ed? This is, of course, my passion area as a registered dietitian. I love talking about nutrition education and could do it all day. And we're pretty mixed here. We're thinking about the My Plate, so I'd say pretty even. So we're thinking about all those different areas. So I'm going to close this poll, then I'm going to dig a little deeper into nutrition education. So when I started with the Department of Education, as I mentioned, this is the first position of its kind, the academic nutritionist position, and the opportunity when I talk to other nutrition professionals, of course, we all have that same interest of food and nutrition. And when I was initially starting this position and thinking about connecting with some other areas in the school building, thinking about connecting with educators, I originally had some conversations. I would meet and go to meetings and talk about nutrition education, and just, you know, thinking that everyone else is going to be super engaged by that. And what I quickly found out is that everyone was kind of like, oh yeah, nutrition education. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, we need to eat healthy. Got it. Yeah, let's move on. Everyone knows that kind of thing. So what I kind of did is then I'm like, all right, I know this is important. I know we all like food. So I kind of started changing the language a little bit. So I started utilizing the term food-based learning. And so then when I started to go and talk to different audiences and try to engage in this way and talk about farm to school and food-based learning, then people were kind of interested. They thought maybe I would have like a free sample of food or something and be able to like give them a sample, something to try, something to taste, maybe a recipe. So then we started getting a little bit more engaged. So that's a term that I'll use a lot, is the food-based learning opportunities. So when we think about, I mentioned that harvest of the month and maybe that apple, and cutting that apple up and talking about fractions, connecting it to math. Those are those food-based learning opportunities and connections. And again, those are some great ways to be able to connect and get that hands-on learning. When I think about my kids and when I think about food-based learning opportunities, I know my kids go to school. They go to school all day. They'll be there for 8 hours or so. And if I ask them what did you do today? How was your day? I might get the, nothing. Like, what'd you do? Nothing? You were at school for 8 hours and you did nothing? Like, that's so fascinating. That was such a long day. But when I asked them, you know, say they had that, you know, hands-on learning opportunity and they did a taste test with apples, the harvest of the month apples, and they had green ones and red ones, and they maybe have some gala apples, some different varieties, and the students got to taste them. If there's an activity like that they did in school and I ask them how their day is, there's a better opportunity that I may get a good story out of this as a parent. I may hear, we tried apples and Johnny didn't like this one, but Sarah did this and she put it in her mouth and made it look like a smile. I'm going to get a little story out of that. And they're going to remember that experience. And I think about a time when I was able to talk with the State Superintendent of Schools Student Advisory Committee. And that committee consists of over 100 students from across the state that apply to be on that committee. So I had a chance to go around the room and I sat at each table. There was probably about 10 kids at each table. And when I sat at that table, I was just trying to get an idea of where they were at. Like, I asked them a little bit about nutrition education, but the one question that I asked them was just like, when you think about your school experience, so these are kids in 9th to 12th grade, like, what's that one education experience that sticks out that you'll always remember? And at every table that I went to, I had a minimum of one child say, when I was in Spanish class and we tried different foods from that culture. So they brought in different foods as part of that project. And I think that that's really powerful to me because it shows us how food connects. Food connects to us in so many ways, whether it be a memory, an educational opportunity, thinking about that as security. So I think that food is such a powerful education tool. And so what you'll see about here on the screen is an example of watermelon, which was our Harvest of the Month feature last month. We identify some of those English language arts opportunities. We think about ways to connect. When I think about apples this month, we talk about, you know, what are some of those sayings? You know, an apple, you're the apple of my eye, or don't upset the apple cart. So that's opportunities to be brainstorming and thinking about those, and then also be talking about idioms and figurative language and connecting that back to English language arts. So we have so many ways to connect with foods and to have those hands-on learning opportunities. So in addition to Holly's Harvest with Holly videos, I do tune in at 2 on Tuesdays for some of these food-based learning connections and opportunities. So a lot of focus, of course, right now. I've started these back in April. So we have about 20 episodes so far, and I do these with my kids. It was something that we did each week as a way to connect and engage and continue the learning. So we're continuing those. So those are just some easy connection points, easy ways to connect to some learning opportunities. So we have recipes on there as well. So sometimes, just like Holly's, we'll do some recipes that we'll share. We'll put them together. And again, we get to talk about reading with our kids. We get to talk about fractions. We get to talk about measuring, following directions. So many great ways to connect just with the recipe and to reinforce the learning that's happening in the classroom. So another way that we have a chance to connect when we think about a recipe or when we're eating at home, we share this tool. This is called our food literacy tool. So when we think about if we're growing something in the garden and we're going to try it, sometimes when I'm talking to kids, if I just say, hey, what do you think about this? If it's something that they don't prefer, I may get the yuck, nasty, bleh, 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 like all those lovely words that describe something that they don't like. So what I really try to do is set the learning opportunity up for success. So with my kids at home, I say, don't yuck my yum. So if you don't like something, that's okay, but I may like it, so don't yuck my yum. So those are some of those ground rules that what if I'm doing a taste test with kids that I set up. Don't yuck my yum, and let's use some of these food literacy terms, because not only are we going to increase vocabulary, but also we're going to get some good feedback. As a chef or someone working on developing recipes, if someone says something is yuck, it's kind of hard to like adjust that recipe. But if someone tells me something's too salty or too sweet, okay, I can make some tweaks to that recipe and have better success next time. So some other resources that we develop is we just try to connect with some common celebrations. There's Pollinator Week, of course, that happens. Back in June, we have that happening. We also do the Great Pollinator, the Count. So thinking about just ways to connect with the curriculum and increase some of those learning opportunities. And all these resources we have available on our website. I just wanted to do some quick snapshots of some of the things so you get an idea of what we're doing. Okay, so we have another activity here. So this one, I'm just going to have you pop it into the chat box if you know the answer to this. So this is kind of another way to connect. Students write riddles. We're going to ask the students to write some riddles. I'm asking you guys to write some riddles. But we're thinking about a brainstorming sensory words to describe. So we talked about some of those words. So this is an activity that we would do in English language arts class. So I'm going to give you this riddle. So you're going to tell me what the answer is. I'm as salty as the ocean. I'm as crunchy as fall leaves. I am delicious in soup. What am I?
Bruce Johnston puts in a chat that they're crackers. Bruce and Ed got it. Jody, okay, I know this one.
Thank you guys, you got it. I hope that crackered you up.
Crackers, croutons. Yeah, everybody's getting into it, yes.
All right, thank you guys. Croutons. So that's just a little example of how we can engage and be creating some of those writing and learning opportunities. So thank you. So some other engagement resources that we have, I love a good food pun. So if you have one, you could also throw that in the chat and I'm going to check it out later and see if it's one that I haven't heard already. But I love food puns. But one of the things that we do is we have these available for all of our Harvest of the Month promotions. So this is something that our schools could actually print out and they could put them on little cards for photo props. So a lot of the students will engage with that. They'll put that up and take pictures and selfies and post them different areas. But we just try to connect with some of those food things and find ways to engage. So these are some of our punny signs that we have. So another way that we're working to engage and we think about those community and student engagement opportunities is we have two different programs that we're working on. One is in a pilot, it's called Shop and Talk, and that's something that we're doing in Dublin, Georgia. It's a little slowed, of course, now because of the pandemic and some of the restrictions with that, but that program was really looking at having little prompts in the grocery store to encourage conversation between children and their caregivers. So as you're walking around the grocery store, seeing little prompts about fruits and vegetables and being able to have some conversations about those. So what we did is with that program being a little bit slowed, we introduced this program called Taste and Talk. So this is something that could happen at whether students are having meals at school. So if they're having breakfast and lunch at school, some may be in the cafeteria, some meals may be happening in the classroom. So this is something that a teacher could pop up this question on the board to encourage conversation between students. This is also something that, so these are just some examples of the different topic areas we have, but we have 6 per page and they could be cut and then students could pick a paper read it, and then answer the question. So it encourages conversation. We have different networking opportunities as adults. And when we think about our early child care centers, the students are all having meals together. And we want to find other ways for our students to be able to connect, whether it's with their peers or whether they're at home. So these are just simple prompts to encourage conversation. We have some school systems that are sending this home with their school meals if they're doing virtual learning at this time. So we're sending them home in that way as well. So just again, ways to encourage conversation during mealtime. So just again, and that helps with language and literacy. So this is a resource that we have available as well. It's called the Fueling Georgia Activity Book. So this is a 16-page book that has just different activities that, again, connect with agriculture and food. There's recipes. This is geared towards a kindergarten through second grade audience, but just some fun activities that also reinforce what that age group is learning at school. Okay, so I kind of gave you guys a big snapshot of all the different resources that we have, and I wanted you to be thinking about some ways that you could connect and be utilizing these. So we have our resources all on our food-based learning section, our student engagement section of our website, and then we also have the Georgia Farm to School website that we have our Farm to School resources on that page as well. So I'm going to leave that up there for a minute, and I know Frank is recording this, so you'll be able to refer back to that, and we could stick it in the chat box too if that helps. That's where we house all these resources that I highlighted so far. And I want to just also share, this is my contact information, and this is Holly Thaw and her contact information as well. So if you're ever looking for ideas or have ideas, or there's a way that we could help connect with you, we would love to do that. We know that food connects. It connects farms, it connects communities, it connects classrooms, cafeterias. So we think that it's just such a powerful way for us to connect with our students and with our community. So if there's any ways that we could connect with you, we would love to do that. So feel free to reach out. And this is our social media as well. So if you want to follow us and check out those Harvest with Hollies or those Tune In with Tune on Tuesdays, we'd love to have you join us.
Okay, so are there any questions now for Kelly? I can unmute, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question if you'd like.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Hi, good morning. I am from Texas, just moved to Atlanta area. I live in Avondale Estates. And thank you. And Sue Sneed helped me join the group. And this is such a wonderful opportunity for me to learn from Georgia State what they're doing, because we have similar program in Texas also. And most of the time we have a family is included in the school garden, and part of it is helps benefits the poor children, because as you know, poor families get whatever the kids eat in the school is the only meal that they have. So it's very important. I used to also volunteer with the food bank, and we used to bag food for the weekend and to take for the kids to take home so that they can be fed. But so is there something that your school program is helping, specifically targeting the poor families and the children from the lower income communities, also in particularly homeless children? There are many of those in Texas. So I like you to comment on that, how this program is helping you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we really actually, that's a population that we work with very closely. So the school meals program. So when we think about breakfast and lunch, those two areas would be available, especially for the food insecure. And when we think about that homeless population, in particular, the homeless students receive those meals for free. And there's actually a USDA waiver that was just announced yesterday, and we're continuing to get more guidance on that, but they've actually extended. So in the summer months, children aged 2 to 18 can receive meals as part of the Seamless Summer Program. So those have actually been extended during this time through December. So we're continuing to look at that. But the school meals program is such a great option for that population that's in need and is for the food insecure. So in addition to providing those school meals, that school breakfast, that school lunch, that after school snack, and in some cases in Georgia, the dinner program at schools as well, we do partner in the Harvest of the Month program. So we work with the Georgia Food Bank Association, Atlanta Community Food Bank, and those partners as well to be able to have consistent messaging. So utilizing those Harvest of the Month items and features and having those same type of conversations with those organizations as well. So that's definitely a population that we continue to look at and work with. And like I mentioned in the example with the Wheeler High School, that's something that outside of that school day. So we know that during the school day, and even when we're doing it virtually in some cases now, we're still providing those meals for students. But outside of the school day, that's where organizations like the food banks as well are helping to provide meals for families.
Thank you. So the schools here also have a school garden that they raise a kitchen garden like type of thing.
Yeah, so we have about, I believe 75% of our schools actually have edible gardens, but it's just going to vary the size of them as far as how big they are. Again, it could be a raised bed, so one single garden that's for the whole school, and then some schools have those beautiful 300-acre farms that also have that they're raising cattle on and other animals as well. So we really have a big variety when we think about schools in Georgia and what learning opportunities that we have as part of the school gardens.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the members of this group, do we have any volunteer opportunities to get involved in the school gardens or kitchen gardens?
So I don't know if there's someone from the group wants to answer, but I know that schools are certainly, well, the part that I can answer is from a school perspective. That's one of those areas when you think about school gardens, that there's a lot of opportunity for help and for community to get involved. So we see a lot of, whether it's, expanding the garden, building, if there's an existing garden, starting a new garden. And what we are seeing is that at this point in time, one of the challenges that we have is when schools are being done virtually. There have been some concerns expressed with those gardens needing some additional assistance from the community members because the students and the teachers may not be on campus. So there's opportunities for people to volunteer and to assist with those so that they continue to flourish in that school environment.
Thank you, Kelly.
Carolyn Chandler, I think she has her hand up. Do you have a question? If so, you can unmute yourself, Carolyn. She has her audio turned on. I can't see her. Go ahead and tell her. Say, Carolyn, we can't hear you. Carolyn, we can't hear you. If you could turn on your microphone or unmute yourself.
I think Carolyn's trying to tell us about Avondale Elementary. There's a school garden over there that our club volunteers with sometimes. Am I right, Carolyn?
Here we go. There we go. I finally found it. It popped up. Yes. Avondale Estates, turn your sound down. Avondale Estates and Avon are jointly applying for a grant from the National Garden Club. And we will get $1,000. And part of the idea is to beautify the front and back entrance. But as part of our back entrance, which will be near the outdoor classroom, we hope to have some containers and perhaps some raised gardens, things like that, that the kids can put herbs and perhaps some garden varieties in there. The main thing we need is for all of you master gardeners to let us know who you are to help us start designing this so we can get this grant off the ground and sent in. That's it.
Nice.
Thank you, Carolyn. Chrissy, did you want to ask a question? I think Kathy Dupre has her hand up.
Okay. So, and at the elementary school, wasn't there something going on in the courtyard? Weren't there rain barrel a few years ago? I don't know who the question's directed to, but I thought that was going on.
Yes, there is an interior courtyard that has all sorts of plants, raised gardens, composting, that sort of thing. And they're still working on that. We have 2 master gardeners on staff at Avondale Elementary, and we're going to be working hopefully hand in glove with them.
Very good.
Great,
Very good.
Carolyn. Yes, Christy. Are you unmuted?
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yes. No, I was before Carolyn popped in. Yeah. So I know the past couple of years, Avondale Elementary School, on Wednesday was taking volunteers to help in their gardening, in their garden out in the back of the school in the courtyard area. So that's what I was going to say. So I'm not sure with the COVID, I'm not sure how that's going, but I know they were trying to do a garden and grow some vegetables and things like that, as part of their learning environment. So I just wanted to add that.
Great. Okay. Any other questions for Kelly before she leaves us?
Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Well, hearing none, Kelly, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today. Wow, I'm going to have to look at this video again. There was just so much to take in a 40-minute period. So thank you again, and thank the school nutrition.
Kathy Dupree has a question.
Okay, Kathy Dupree has a question. So Kathy.
Yeah, actually, Kelly, I wanted to say that including the polls in your presentation was very engaging. I liked seeing your slides. I liked seeing the pictures. Love all the ideas that you're using, and incorporating the poll really makes it makes us engage. I know there's all kinds of technology to work out with this, but really appreciate this whole program.
Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate Frank working with me on everything and helping walk me through it. And I've enjoyed getting to know you guys a little bit better and hope that we could work together. And I want to give a big Apple applause for all the work that you're doing with the elementary school and the grants. So thanks so much for this opportunity. I really enjoyed it. And thank you for the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon. So now I would like to just mention the October program coming up in October. The subject is going to be Master Gardening Program. And we have the wonderful opportunity, Dr. Sherry Dorn, who is the administrator of that for the whole state, will be joining us. And so I would like for everyone to please send in all your gardening issues that you have. To me. In the yearbook, you'll see my email address, or it's fmullins73@gmail.com. And I'm going to compile those questions, hopefully share them with her, and also a panel of master gardeners. If you are a current master gardener and you would like to fill some of these questions during the meeting next month, send me a note that you would like to do that. And then we'll organize that and have it ready for October's meeting. So if there's no questions related to October's meeting, I'd like to turn the program over to Kathy Kingsbury, our president.
Hey guys, wasn't that a great program? Can y'all hear me? I guess I should ask. Yeah, okay. Well, welcome back. I am thrilled. Frank says that we're rotating between 38, 39 members. I am just so excited. I know that he and Jody are equally thrilled. Thank you, thank you. Peggy, are you there?
I'm under Alice Guthrie.
Oh, you were with Alice. Okay.
With Alice. Had a crash, so I called her and
Okay.
Here I am.
Well, we were looking for you. We never know. We are going to go through the meeting sort of in abbreviated formula, but we decided to start this fresh season with this inspiration from Peggy. She wanted to do it in person, and I'm thrilled. So Peggy, you're going to stand in front of Mary Galpin's and show us your face. I can't see.
I'm on.
Yeah. Okay. Ready to rock and roll.
Ready.
An inspiration by Peggy.
This is a poem by Mary Scott called Bless the Gardener Who. Bless the gardener who believes that great things grow from small beginnings. Appreciate sunshine and rain and the rhythm of the seasons. Plows through troubles, willing to get hands and knees dirty. Remains grounded, but keeps an eye on the sky. Plants extra for the birds to eat their fill and never leaves us hungry.
Oh, sorry, Peggy. We're having a sidebar. Thank you. We were talking, we're hearing some background jitter, so we're trying to figure out. The minutes is the next item on our agenda. We distributed the March minutes so long ago that we're going to redistribute them along with the minutes from this meeting. So then we will let everybody look at them and take a vote. I mean, it's hard to believe that that's the last time we were together, but March. So we're going to sort of get back into doing that. So that's good. Any questions or concerns with that process? Not hearing any, we'll move on. Committee reports. The written reports were distributed to the membership on Wednesday. I got a late edition from our Garden of the Month group. And Connie, I saw you a minute ago. You want to make that announcement? Are you still here with us, Connie? Well, does somebody else from the committee want to unmute themselves and make that announcement, or do you want me to? Mary Lou?
Sorry, I lost it for a minute. You there?
Oh, there she is.
Okay. We did something a little different this time. We were looking at Emily Pritchett's garden, and then when I was walking by, I said, well, it's really hard to say Emily's garden without looking at Lisa Shortell's, and they join each other and make a beautiful site there on the corner. So we decided to have a joint Garden of the Month since they adjoin each other. And we also thought that this might be an inspiration to other gardeners to kind of have more of a seamless garden with their neighbors. So it's Emily Pritchett and Lisa Shortell at Clarendon Place.
We will, I'll do a drive-through if you don't already know where that is. Next thing I have on my agenda is I understand we have a brand new member, and our member has already joined in our conversation. I have, you're referred to as Susie, correct? You want to introduce yourself briefly, Susie?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Susie Mickler, and we recently moved from Texas, Dallas area to here. And my husband and I took new positions at Georgia State. I'm in School of Public Health. I'm an epidemiologist, and my particular interest is maternal and child health. So I also have a PhD in child development. So my passion is healthy children. So that's why these home garden, kitchen, school programs are very interesting to me. And I also do a lot of community work. Um, Back where I was, I'm a trained citizen police volunteer, medical reserve corps. So I also worked with the nonprofit organizations, particularly homeless shelters, to write grants and bring some money. So my expertise is writing grants too. So if you ever need any help, you can seek my help. Um, so I'm willing to contribute my skills and expertise the way you want. So I'm very
Thank you,
happy to
Susie,
make
and
new
welcome.
friends.
We just got a little chat from Sue. She says you've been here for a week, so we really appreciate you joining us, and believe me, we'll use your expertise.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
are not shy about asking for help.
Sure.
Um,
And I love
now,
gardening, so no problem with that. So
okay, now Sue Sneed, as part of our committee reports, would like to say a few words about the budget. Sue?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our 2020-21 season. I'm the treasurer for the Garden Club, for those of you who may not know. It's going to be a very interesting year budget-wise. We typically have a budget of around $13,000 to $14,000. We do again this year. You can see the budget in your beautiful yearbook that just came out. However, our biggest fundraiser of the year has also been canceled, which is our November pancake breakfast and boutique. So there is an ad hoc committee in place to start to brainstorm and come up with some other ways to fundraise for us this year. But we're going to have to be flexible with our budget. And at our executive meeting last night, I brought up the idea of having an end of the year budget review. So instead of having our budget committee meeting in May, we're actually going to meet in December to relook at our budget and see what we need to trim and what adjustments that we may need to make in the middle of our season. So just want to make you aware of that. And I think that's it.
Thanks, Sue. Sue's worked real hard on our budget, as whole the group of us. And like we said, flexibility is the name of the game this year. So if some projects don't get funded fully, or we don't. Sue said we were canceling our pancake breakfast. We're hoping that maybe late spring, but you know, the way of the world, we just don't know. I would like to say something. I said it in the minutes and the committee reports. Erica Brown has kindly agreed, along with Kathy Cavallera, another new member, to start up our ad hoc committee, start talking about ideas. If you have any ideas, shoot them an email. If you have resources, shoot them an email. At this point, they're just starting to go through some of the ideas and figuring out feasibility and manpower. That seems to be a big issue too. So appreciate that. That wraps it up for my report, and I was going to ask for some comments or announcements from the members. Anybody got anything exciting they need to contribute? No hands? I can't see everybody.
Just unmute yourself if you would like to speak.
Yeah. We're not real chit-chatty today.
I've got one thing. It's me, Kathy Dupre, if you can't see who's speaking. If you are growing okra in your gardens, let some get big and save them for later in October.
Ooh. Sounds enticing. That's it from the group? No announcements? Well, I have a few closing remarks, then I'm gonna let y'all get on with your day and go eat the lunch that our lunch committee didn't have to prepare. So I really want to formally thank the past board for their services last year and the previous years that they were on the executive team. We didn't get to have a traditional sort of turnover last year and things have been a little hectic this summer trying to get all this stuff out, but I just want them to know how much we appreciate their service and all the work and effort that you put into making this club work as it has the past years. Barbara Fisher, our past president, Kathy Brackett, and Bruce Johnston have rolled off the board, but they have been on my speed dial all summer. I have called them and asked them questions, and they have been willing and very capable to respond, and I do appreciate that. So I want to thank you for your service, and I want to tell you that your leadership will be missed. And next time we're together, maybe we can at least give you a distance wave and say thank you, thank you. But I felt like that was a big drop in our bucket last year that we just didn't get to. I also want to thank Frank and Jody. Frank agreed to be the program chair. Little did he know he was going to become the Zoom master. Jody is a walking part of my walking group. She joins us when her schedule allows. I said to her one day, I heard you were in IT. And she said, yes. I said, well, would you mind helping Frank? I don't think they've not talked every day for a month and a half. So I really, really appreciate those two. And I appreciate y'all for coming to this meeting. I think it's a huge learning experience. I'm thrilled with the amount of non-glitches that we've had so far. And at this point, I'm done, and I will say goodbye and see you in October. Now, if you want to stay on and have a little visit with your friends, I think that's doable, Frank. Frank's in my dining room. I'm in my office. We're screaming at each other.
Yes, that's fine. Jody and I are just going to figure out when to stop the recording, but yeah, but they can do whatever they want to do.
Margaret has her hands up, Kathy.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Is the group interested in any different kinds of cuisine? Like, I'm from India, and so we use a lot of natural vegetables and spices. And so if anybody is interested in cuisine, we can, well, I don't know when we can meet, but we can cook and I mean, teach others. I'm interested in that too, if you're interested.
Great. We will make a note of that, and if we ever get back to a sense of normalcy, we will consider that. That might be a good program for the next year or so.
Kathy?
Any other buddy?
Kathy, Margaret has her hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see that. Margaret, please.
I just had a quick announcement that the Christmas Tour of Homes on December the 13th is now going to be the Christmas Tour of Lights in Avondale. So we want everybody in town to really decorate the trees and look for further information about this. But anyway, the Garden Club is always
good job, Margaret.
Nice.
Thank you.
Christmas Tour of Lights, Sunday, December 13th. Look for more information.
Yay, that was good.
Kathy Dupree.
Yeah, I sent an email to the board and commissioners asking if they had any idea or any consideration of whether or not trick-or-treating is going to happen this year. 3 of them wrote back that they it hadn't crossed their minds to think about it. 2 didn't respond. I do not plan on organizing a litter pickup for November 1st this year. I can't see going out and picking up, saliva candy wrappers this year if the trick-or-treating happens. So that's my opinion. If somebody still thinks we should do the litter pickup if there's trick-or-treating, I can help you get it set up.
We'll put that on our next executive board agenda.
Yeah. Which would be right before, no.
It'll be
that'd
before
enough
the
time.
October 1st
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So sometime. Our executive board meetings are sort of taking place at different times now. It's not really working to have it right before this meeting like we've done traditionally in the back. So we've been meeting all summer long in the evenings. So we're trying to logistically plan that.
Yeah.
So any other comments from the audience? I see a lot of you are in different, or several of you are on different locations and outside of Avondale Estates. I think there are those of us that are jealous. But have a good time. I don't see any more comments. My team in the back, my wonderful team hasn't, oh, Susie? Oh, you're waving bye? Okay. Thank y'all, and hopefully we'll get, you'll get some more information from us shortly. Y'all take care. Have a great day.
Bye.
I'm going to